What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report. It is I, your host with the most, Adam Perez. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are set to go ahead and get into WandaVision, episode number 7. 2 episodes away from the season finale, ladies and gentlemen, and WandaVision continues to certainly impress. So we're going to be breaking it down for you guys, a little bit of a review, a little bit of discussion with you guys. If you've had the opportunity to check out this week's episode of WandaVision, if not, spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen, we will be diving into this episode. So if you haven't watched the episode, pause this, put us on your watch list, go check it out, certainly come back and definitely enjoy all of our goodness, and definitely let your thoughts be known in regards to this week's episode in our comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. But as always, it is not just myself tackling WandaVision this week. No, sir. We definitely have Stuart Branscombe joining us today. What's going on, buddy? How are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing really good. Excited to talk about WandaVision again. Quick question for you. I gotta ask if you feel this way too. I feel like one of the most stressful times I feel every single Friday, or in my case, Thursday at midnight, is just that moment I see that end credits and it says, see you next week, or, continue next. I keep forgetting what it says at the end, but that's when like suddenly I'm just like, no, I gotta ask, is that you too at the end of every episode now?
Honestly, no, because I don't even sit through the credits anymore, man. I will say this though, I did almost miss a post-credit or mid-credit scene in here this week. I literally I turned it off, and it was on the second viewing of this episode. I just happened to let it play just a little bit longer, and I'm like, holy crap, there was another little scene here towards the end. So yeah, I sometimes, maybe I should learn. I should know better, Stuart, by this point when it comes to Marvel stuff, right?
Honestly, I would have missed it too if I hadn't been watching it with my girlfriend this time. I think she just out of habit just does that at the end of every episode, thinking maybe this time we'll get an end credit scene. So I'm really glad she does, because this time she actually found that there was an end credit scene. So I'm really glad we were able to catch it.
Like after the WandaVision and then a scene and then more credits, or is like after all the
kind of. Oh, there we go. Oh, wait. Sorry, you kind of froze there.
Oh, did you hear me?
Yeah. So you said after all the credits. Okay. So yeah, basically, she every like time like it says
post credits
at the mid credits, she always like kind of fast forwards to look to see if there's an end credit scene afterwards. So thank God she did.
Yeah, I'm glad she did too, man. And yeah, for me, I'm just thankful I rewatched it again. I mean, do I feel like I missed? Yeah, I probably should have actually have watched that, because if I didn't, I felt like maybe going into episode 8, I would have been like, how the hell did that happen? How did Monica end up there, or wherever she's at when we come to see her in this episode? So yes, guys, there definitely is a mid-credit scene for sure. Real quick before we get into the episode, Dino Real Soul says, is it too late to start watching WandaVision? I kind of watched the first episode, but I fell off after finding other shows on Netflix. Listen, man, it's never too late to get into a television show. Like, there are people that haven't watched shows from 3-4 years ago. If it's on a streaming service, jump right into it, man. I mean, the episodes, for the most part, how long would you say these episodes go for, Stuart? Maybe like 30, 40 minutes tops, if there's a 40-minute episode. I don't think we've even broken 40 minutes yet.
I don't think so. I think they're anywhere between like 22 to 35 minutes at the most. And I say 35 at the most because the episodes that are labeled as like 47 minutes, usually those are like 13 minutes of credits. So yeah, I want to say it's somewhere between 22 minutes and 35 minutes per episode. And I got to be kind of honest. I'm a little jealous that you've waited all this time to watch it, because a part of me just really wished that I was the type of person that could wait on a show, that had the patience to wait to watch all 9 episodes in a row, because this definitely feels like a show that would be a lot of fun to binge. But on the other hand, it also is kind of fun to talk about these episodes weekly, and then also listen around on the internet for other people's theories for the show, to see where it's going and seeing who's kind of more accurate, who isn't. It's so it's like you trade one experience for another, essentially.
No, that's definitely a good point. And listen, the episodes are certainly short enough, Dino, to where if you want to watch it in the weekend, boom, just knock it out. You can watch it in a day, man, easily. So yeah, definitely go ahead and check it out. And you got 2 more episodes for us to get into before the season finale. So yeah, definitely go ahead and do some catch up whenever you get the chance. Quick shout out also goes out to Indy, who unfortunately couldn't be here with us today. We got Beast Boy in the house, also 2.0. So thank you very much, guys, for definitely joining us today. But Stuart, let's go ahead ahead and start talking. Oh, what are you drinking, man? What's the drink of choice tonight?
It's some NA St. Paulia NA.
Okay, very
Yeah.
nice. I've never had it before, but I do love me some beer, man. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to stock up here. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get into episode number 7 of WandaVision. One that I enjoyed for the most part. I thought we got some really great revelations, especially towards the end. Right, the really big, quick question, or the big question of the season is who's the villain, right, or who's behind all the mischievous stuff that we certainly seen going on. And while I definitely do think we certainly understand that, yes, Wanda certainly does play a significant role in what's certainly going on here, there definitely is more going on behind the scenes, a bigger picture, somebody helping her either adjust her abilities or add more power to them to where she's not quite sure exactly as to what's going on. And so we finally got that answer to our question as to who else is certainly pulling the strings behind the scenes. And so this week, Stuart, we actually wind up getting ourselves a Modern Family sort of influence. We kind of knew that they would eventually kind of tackle this. I think they did it to perfection, honestly. I love just the kind of sit down interview style that they kind of did from those kind of shows. Almost kind of reminds me a little bit of like The Office to a certain extent. What did you think in general of just the homage to the classic style of TV they did this time around?
I thought it was hilarious. Like, I've never seen Modern Family, but I have seen The Office, so I definitely understood what they were going for with that. With the whole, I guess you would call it a mockumentary, right? With that kind of setup that they had. I thought for the most part it was hilarious, and I love how you kind of get this sense that even people who are aware that things aren't like going on like the way they should, like Darcy and Vision, even though they're fully aware that this isn't real, I love how even they can't help but like be caught up in all the obstacles. So you have them, constantly hitting every single red light of the town, even though like us as the viewers, which is kind of like, this is all a fake reality. Just run the freaking red lights, And then you even have like Vision, even knowing that this is all fake, doing the sit down interviews. Like, that stuff just made me laugh. And I love how it really felt like Darcy's character just fit in way too well with that world. It almost feels like, looking at these Thor movies in retrospect, it almost feels like she was ripped out of a sitcom and thrown right into the Marvel universe, and that, now she found her new place. Now she found her new home.
I mean, it definitely should work. I mean, Kat Dennings was on, was it Two Broke Girls, I think, on CBS for quite some time. So if there is anybody that gets the idea of being a part of the sitcom, is definitely her. So it definitely feels like it was a perfect fit for her. I do love the fact, too, that she references that she was that one of the other jobs was a bearded lady, which I was kind of hoping when we were trying to do our guesses last week as to what is Darcy going to look like when she comes out on the other end. I was hoping it was a bearded lady, but I appreciate the fact that they at least gave it as a reference, that they were thinking about it for a minute there. But yeah, I love what they did with the Modern Family take. To be perfectly honest with you, I definitely felt like even just the humor that we wind up getting from Elizabeth Olsen honestly fit just that type of sitcom humor to the T, if you will. So I did think that was certainly pretty fun. But the one thing that we do come to find out is not only is Wanda continuing to sulk, but she's definitely punishing herself for the actions that we wind up seeing in last week's episode. Now her powers are certainly acting up. Reality is kind of changing and shifting, and she's kind of unsure at this point as to how it's all happening. It definitely very much feels as though it's a little bit even out of her own control, something that she certainly didn't even plan for herself, that even despite the fact that she is grieving, this probably is not part of her grief at all. And we get to see that in perfect examples with when the boys are certainly playing their video games, how the video game controller turns back into different iterations of a past classic video game systems and things like that. So and not only that, but just even the decorations around her living room were certainly starting to change as well. So that's really where we wind up finding Wanda at here in this week. But to just kind of jump towards the ending before we get into all the little tidbits in between, Stuart, we come to find out who is actually pulling the strings. Miss Agatha herself, coming across as Agnes herself, coming across as Agatha Harkness, as she's wind up introducing herself as. What did you think about the introduction in here? Because I feel like Marvel has a great way of, even though I feel like going up throughout this season, we've done our best to debunk Agnes as maybe the person behind things that are going on. Leave it up to Marvel to still be able to keep those twists and turns certainly still coming for us, that even though when we do kind of count somebody else out, we probably shouldn't at this point in time when it comes to Marvel. What did you think about Agatha Harkness being revealed as the person, though?
I couldn't have said it better myself. They knew that this was going to be the thing that most fans were going to be predicting at this point. So I think that was the purpose of the previous episode. It was really just to give us the idea that, oh yeah, no, that theory that you guys have, it's completely incorrect. Look, she's a victim just like everyone else. And I love that they, even show that moment in particular, because I feel like they knew that would be the moment that fans would go back to, where they'd be like, wait a minute, if she was a victim too, then why is it that, or if she wasn't a victim this whole time, why was she acting like it during this scene with Vision? So I'm really glad that they not only show that, she was just faking it the whole time. I love how they just show her like getting her eyes ready to act like she's weeping, like as she's talking with Vision too, as she's like preparing to
makeup
put on
and stuff in the
exactly. I thought that was absolutely brilliant on a Marvel side, like, or on the writer side in general. Like, that was just a brilliant moment for me, because I was so ready last week. I don't know if I feel like I said this last week. I'm pretty sure I did, where I said, oh yeah, no, I don't believe Agatha is behind this at all. I don't think she has anything to do with this. I think she's just a random person. But that scene did a great job of proving me wrong for sure. And one other thing that I didn't notice before, but we talked about how her photo was on the wall when they were talking about the different characters that had been cast. But her name, unlike all the other people, it was left blank, as if to indicate that no one knows who she was over at Sword headquarters. So yeah, it is kind of cool how they both kind of like give you the idea that it is a very huge possibility that she is a victim, but don't completely let go of your theory quite yet. And then I feel like this episode was just the perfect way of being like, yeah, for those of you who stuck to your guns, unlike me, anyone else who thought like, oh yeah, she was definitely faking it the whole time. Guess what? You were correct. Here it is. She was behind it the whole time, like you guys predicted.
Absolutely, man. And Indy stuck to his guns too the entire time. He definitely called the idea of this being Agatha Harkness almost from like the first time around, if you will. See, Indy's like, I knew it. Yeah, he certainly did. He definitely stuck to his guns that was in fact going to be Agatha. But yeah, give props to Marvel again for pulling all those constant swerves and those ideas, because they knew that we would be nitpicking. Because even when they revealed it, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I'm going to have to go back and watch some of these episodes, because there's some place they messed up. And then they actually give you the reveal and show you everything. And I'm like, damn, they did it. They got me. And it's funny too, because I remember last week in our comment section for WandaVision, somebody even asked us, well, how is it that Agnes, went back to normal or something like that after, her time with Vision? The fact that she was pretty much just non-movement for most of the part, but then once she winds up waking up again, we see Agatha, or I should say Agnes, driving back around, and somebody asked, how is that possible, type of thing. And I was like, well, maybe it's just remnants of Wanda's powers, but come to find out, Agatha at this point can really do whatever she certainly wishes in this particular reality. So she's definitely having her way and continuing to really just fake people out, and they definitely got me, man. They definitely got me. But I thought it was great. I will say this too, I also really love the set design that they wind up creating for Agatha's place, her hideout. Once we actually start going underneath her house and you start seeing her basement and the caverns and things like that, I don't know if that's sort of leading us into this nexus, if you will, or this realm where where all these different dimensions meet. I don't know if that's what that is, or if that's just Agatha's lair at this particular point in time. But I thought the set design was actually pretty good for from going from a house to something like that. It looked pretty good, honestly.
It gave me major Hansel and Gretel vibes for sure, especially because, Wanda's going down there looking for her two kids. And then, when you get the reveal that she's the witch, it definitely gave like a really cool, like kind of a subtle horror. Like, I don't want to say like, super scary kind of horror, definitely not, but definitely gave like a really cool subtle horror. And I think the payoff of that scene, how it went from being kind of a spooky like scene in that sense, and then immediately followed by like the really catchy song, "It was Agatha the whole time," like that. I
Yeah.
think, man, if any, like this show did a really good job for so long of building up to that moment where, like, if you were to watch this episode out of context to anything, this scene would have just been really dumb and just lame. But I feel like because this show did a great job of establishing its own universe's rules of how the sitcom reality works and how the real world reality works essentially together in this, it established this whole like really cool connection. So when we got to this big reveal, it was just one of the most creative scenes I think that the show has done so far, going from like a spooky environment to a very cheery, "It was Agatha the whole time." And then they end on that really dark line of, "Oh, and I killed Sparky."
Yeah, like just to nail it home for you guys, right? Like for all you dog lovers out there, by the way, like this is how evil I truly am. I was like, damn, they had her kill a dog too. Unbelievable. And she's praising about it, which I thought was pretty hilarious. I love the shot of just seeing just before they get into sort of that that montage at the end, just seeing Agatha kind of come down. You get to see her sort of like in her witch's garb, her wings and things like that. And then as the camera pans up, it transforms into classic Agnes that we saw from the very first episode. I love the way that whole entire scene at the end was definitely shot to kind of show you exactly who was up to it the whole entire time. So I'm eager, man. With 2 episodes left, I'm kind of curious as to if she's going to further explain herself, if this is finally all going to come together. I was actually expecting to go into this episode like a full hour long. Do you think we'll get an hour-long episodes for the last 2, you think?
I think at least one of the last 2 episodes has to be an hour long. I remember hearing, I don't even know where the quote came from, but someone was claiming this was a quote from Kevin Feige, where he said the last 3 episodes were going to be an hour long. And well, that turned out to not be true. So I really do think that at least the last 2 episodes are going to be a lot longer than the other episodes, because there's still a lot to unpack here. Because we have like the reveal of our main villain. However, we still have Sword on the outside, who's still going to be blaming this all on Wanda. And not to mention, they're going to be going after Vision as well to get their weapon back, which so happy I called that. Hopefully we'll get more into that later. But so you got all this stuff, and I really don't think if the last 2 episodes are going to be like 30 minutes long, I really don't think that's going to be enough time to wrap all that up. So I'm predicting at least the last 2 episodes are going to be at least an hour long.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. I do feel like they have plenty that they can certainly dive into and really kind of explore and examine. So hopefully the other couple episodes that we wind up getting to wrap up will certainly be a little bit longer. Billy doesn't have a question. She says, I think Agatha is working for Mephisto. It's just a guess. Well, Mephisto certainly has been a pretty popular theory going on right now. So whether or not there is a connection from Agatha and Mephisto, who certainly knows? I mean, the 2 children are in fact missing at this particular point in time. Agatha and Mephisto certainly do have a huge combination together. Indy definitely is. Definitely is. He says Agatha is one of the main villains. And he believes that the fly on the wall was, in fact, Mephisto. He's kind of been hinting at it also. So we'll definitely have to see how it turns out. I mean, the fact that they introduce us to Agatha here, it wouldn't surprise me if Mephisto certainly is not that far behind to be revealed also at some particular point in time. So we'll definitely see how the remainder of this season definitely goes. So you might be onto something too, Billy. You definitely might, but I definitely feel that that's been a pretty big fan theory right now. Going back, what were you going to say, Stuart?
Oh, I was just going to say the theory I've been hearing recently that I think there is some legitimacy to is the idea that maybe Evan Peters has been a Mephisto this whole time, which I think could work as an interesting theory. And that could be who Agatha was working for the whole time as well. But the one other thing that I've kind of heard about why they may not introduce Mephisto, at least not yet, is I guess I'm not trying to be political here at all. This is just how Disney works. They like to appeal to every country ever, including China, and China has a lot of restrictions. And I guess one of their things is when it comes to like actual like Christian mythology, which Mephisto is based on Satan. So supposedly that would be the one thing that would stop Marvel from using a character like Mephisto. But at this point, I feel like Marvel's made Disney so much money that I don't think Disney would care. But that's just my thoughts. So that's why I do think there is legitimacy to the theory that Evan Peters is Mephisto.
Yeah, and we definitely saw Agatha kind of having her way a little bit with Evans Peters Quicksilver in here also. At least the idea that she helped manifest him at Wanda's front door also in this episode. So yeah, it wouldn't not surprise me if the connection definitely is there and Mephisto pops up at some point in time, or if they hold off on him for say the Doctor Strange movie that we have certainly coming soon. I do want to circle real quick back around to what you were talking about, where the idea that Sword attempting to bring Vision back online is really what we saw happening over at Sword. Really with the idea of maybe planning to use him as some sort of weapon, I believe is what Monica, or was it Monica that mentioned that? I believe it was Monica or Darcy that referenced it.
It was Jimmy who read it in the email from Darcy. Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, I think you guys called that also the idea that they were probably doing something to Vision, maybe turning him into a weapon, and maybe that's why Sword wind up having him in the first place. And that definitely seems to be it. I felt like for me, it definitely connected with me last week when we come to find out that there definitely was a tracking system on Vision. I mean, why would you need to track Vision unless you had plans for him or were doing something with him? You know what I mean? So I did find that interesting. But the person, honestly, Stuart, that really shined for me in this episode was Monica Rambeau. The idea here that we finally get the opportunity to see her a hero born in this episode. You know, we had already been teased from Darcy that Monica's travels from in and out of the Hex have manipulated her cells not once but 2 times, and we see that she clearly wants to get back inside in order to try and help out Wanda as best as she possibly can. And even though her vehicle wasn't able to get back through the Hex, she goes ahead and throws herself in there. And what I thought was not only special effects wise, just absolutely beautiful to watch, but I just loved hearing the references from her mother, Maria, hearing the voice of Carol Danvers and things like that, all kind of talking about her strength and how powerful she certainly is, and to see her come out the other side of that Hex, now being able to kind of be a part of sort of all those electromagnetic sort of energy, if you will, being able to not only see it, but maybe be able to manipulate it or use it for herself at some particular point in time. In the comic books, Monica Rambeau does in fact become the superhero in Photon. I believe it's also Pulsar. I believe it's at one point in time a Captain Marvel herself as well, all tapping into the electromagnetic energies. So I love the fact that we actually get to see that highlighted in here. What did you think about just the, I should say, just the idea of her going through the Hex, seeing her abilities kind of come to fruition for the first time? What did you think of that moment in that scene?
Loved it. I had one major worry going into this episode when it came to the confrontation between her and Wanda, and I was so happy that the show did not go into this direction. It really felt like the show was trying to build up to a big fight between the two of them, as if they're like, hey, we have all this money and we haven't had a big epic fight scene yet. And so I was kind of like worried, like, no, this isn't where I want to see a big epic fight scene. Don't get me wrong, I love those, but this definitely wasn't where I wanted to see it. And so I love how Monica the entire time was just being the better person and refusing to like actually start the fight. She refused to engage in the fight, and instead was trying to reach out to Wanda the way she had originally intended to. And that was her main goal. Her goal wasn't to, fight Wanda or like put her down. It was literally to reach out to her, knowing that she is, she has to be the solution, given it's her powers that started all this. Her powers need to be what ends it as well. And I absolutely love that.
Yeah, no, I did too. And I think she definitely makes it a point to showcase that she's certainly not the enemy here, right? Like the idea that the person on the outside in Hayward, he definitely has those evil intentions that you certainly have to worry about. But when it comes to Monica, you certainly don't. So yeah, I do love that sort of confrontation that, yeah, Wanda could have easily just destroyed her in a heartbeat if she certainly wanted to. But the fact that she at least does give Wanda that Monica that opportunity to kind of talk, I thought really worked out. And honestly, it feels like Monica certainly did get to Wanda just a little bit. The idea of Monica just trying to appeal to Wanda, let her know that she understands her grief, right? The idea that handling your grief also is certainly important. The idea that, you know, you can't necessarily change the past, or I think she says you can't undo the pain, but you can accept your truth about it, in the sense of understanding what's kind of come before you and realizing that, listen, life sucks. It happens, you know what I'm saying? But you got to be able to pick yourself up and push forward and accept the fact that this is your life now. And you can either kind of sulk and be drowned out by all this intense grief that you're experiencing, or you can tackle it head on, if you will. And so I love the fact that Monica was able to kind of get that through to her. Now, whether or not, you know, Wanda eventually takes it, but if there is anybody that I have felt all season long can certainly relate, that can certainly relate to Wanda, it definitely is Monica, especially with her losing her mother also.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. It's funny too, because the only one who could have come close for a while was Hawkeye. If it was Hawkeye at the very end of Avengers Infinity War, when just, through the single snap, he lost literally everything just in one snap, like right in front of him. But the biggest difference between him and Wanda is he got it all back at the end of Endgame. Wanda didn't. Not only did she not get anything back at the end of Endgame, she lost even more, because she lost the two people that she knew she could have gone to, that I feel like the two people that I feel like could have talked her down the most, which is, of course, Captain America and Iron Man. And so, it feels like more than anything, she just didn't have anyone she could go to for support. And I love that despite the fact that Monica doesn't know a thing about Wanda, she's trying to be there for her. She's trying to be that support that Wanda currently doesn't have.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and she certainly needs that that type of support, and hopefully we'll get that from Vision also. Vision wind up leaving Darcy in the middle of everything that was certainly going on in order to go ahead and get his wife back, which I thought was a really great sentimental moment between her and Darcy. The idea of Darcy saying, "Listen, I've watched majority of all of WandaVision already," which is again a pretty fantastic, being the point of view of the audience. The idea of her saying, "Listen, I've seen when you guys are together, there's true love there. You guys actually do care and love each other." So hopefully that's enough to certainly help Vision try and save his wife, or at least speak some reason into her, very similar to how Monica certainly did in this episode. But I thought it was pretty neat. Let's see here. Darren does say, remember when Agatha was shocked when Wanda said she could bring back that dead? It's because Agatha cannot, but what she could have done was pull Quicksilver from Fox Universe, and she's controlling, since the Nexus is the bridge between realms and the multiverse. Yeah, so for those of you who didn't get the opportunity to, if you did catch it in the WandaVision commercial, there was one for Nexus, the idea of being able to get away from your reality or something like that. But the idea of Nexus actually comes from a Marvel concept, the idea that it's really the center of everything that is the multiverse type of thing. It's kind of a bridge that connects you to different realities, or whatever the case may be. So maybe that's what they're certainly referring to also, Darren. So we'll see if it gets brought up. Indy does say Monica X gene awoke, although I don't believe she's a mutant, though. Is she? I don't believe she's a mutant.
I think she is. I think they just didn't know what it was at the time, so they didn't have a name for it. But I think I think that now that they're finding that I think in the future of Marvel movies, they're going to find that this is a much more common gene in a lot more people. So I think that in Monica's case, she had it in her the whole time, and going through the barrier 3 times is what's going to be what woke her.
I don't know if I rock. No, it does make sense. I don't know if I rock with. I just don't know if I rock with that. But I definitely do get your point of view for sure. I don't know if they would go so far as to now make her a mutant, because I don't think she was a mutant in the Marvel comic books. But I mean, hey, they can always take their liberties and do whatever they certainly wish to here, for sure. So maybe she is the first person to get the X gene. Like, for me, it would be interesting to see, like, will the whole entire town of Westview just become one gigantic town of mutants after all this? I have no idea, but we'll see what happens. I don't necessarily know if that was the X gene being activated, but we'll definitely see. I love the theories for sure. But other than that, I thought this episode was pretty stellar. I'm looking forward to seeing how the remainder of this certainly turns out. What else did you want to talk about for this week's episode, Stuart? Do you have anything else in mind?
Oh man,
I'm trying to think if we covered everything.
I definitely wanted to highlight one more time with the with a couple of the scenes. I gotta say, you know, me being a dude who was used to be a huge gamer, loved the old school console references. So I loved seeing a Nintendo 64 controller switch to a GameCube and then switch to an Atari 2600, and then we get the Nintendo Wii controllers like towards the end. I gotta say that actually definitely had me busting a gut for sure.
Well, I saw
I love the
I saw they had the Uno cards.
Oh yeah, and then even when it was like before Atari, how it went straight to Uno, I thought that was hilarious too. And then
Like
I
before
gotta
there were even games. Like, here you go, kids. Let's go really old school. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. And then I also just have to bring up that I loved, even though it wasn't like a majority of the episode, it was only like probably about a third of it. I absolutely love the chemistry between Vision and Darcy the entire time. Kind of Darcy talking to Vision in a lot of ways as if she's kind of a fangirl, but also like, you know, the way that they're, again, kind of going back to the whole thing that even though they're fully aware that this reality isn't 100% real, they're still kind of bound by the reality's rules. So you still have Vision doing the interviews. You still have the fact that even though there's no other cars in the intersection, there's no reason they can't just run the red lights, and they're still stopping at those red lights. And, you know, there's no reason they can't drive around the construction. They still don't do that. To me, like, those gags were some of the funniest that I think we've seen in the entire show.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they allowed Darcy to kind of to be on the opposite of Vision here this week. I did like their chemistry together. Honestly, also, I'm really looking forward to seeing more Kat Dennings. Like, there's a part of me that feels like really wants to see the Jimmy Woo and Darcy X-Files show, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, I hope that is something that kind of gets picked up, because just seeing her in this realm, actually inside the Hex now, I thought was pretty funny, honestly. And Indy does go ahead and actually correct us. He does let us know that Photon is actually a mutant. So yeah, I had no idea that Monica Rambeau was actually a mutant herself. So yeah, that probably was her X gene being activated all along. So I am eager to kind of see if there's anybody else in Westview that winds up gaining some abilities from that once you if they do have the gene also. So that should be fascinating to see how that's if they express that going forward.
As for the Jimmy Woo X-Files style spinoff, Stephen Ford, if you can get that off the ground, I'm rooting for you. Just keep that in mind. If you're watching this video, I'm rooting for you.
Yeah, man, I really hope it does come to fruition, because I feel like Kat Dennings has said that Darcy does plan on popping up in other films also. So a part of me is hoping that we do see plenty of her this time around. Beast, how would you pronounce that, Stuart? What's up, man?
I have no idea.
Ace, what's up, man? Good to see you certainly coming through. Yeah, we're actually about to wrap up here, but listen, the Monica Rambeau stuff I thought was absolutely brilliant. It was just cool to me, just seeing all the different variations of her over the different decades of sitcoms that we have, kind of all forming into sort of one Monica Rambeau. It's like they all put their electromagnetic spectrums together and they all fused their powers, and she came out on the opposite end fully with all of her abilities. So I thought those were pretty neat. He says, what are the chances of Al Pacino makes a cameo as Mephisto or Nightmare as a combo? Listen, man, you know, I saw him in Al Pacino and Devil's Advocate years ago with Keanu Reeves, and he played the devil fantastically then. I would love to see him play the devil now, honestly. So yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Like, the way that this show has had all these twists and turns and surprise. If Marvel was able to land Al Pacino just for a Mephisto role, please, I would love it, man. I would absolutely love it. So I'm definitely down for that. Would you like to see Al Pacino as Mephisto, or do you have anybody else in mind you were thinking about, Stuart? Or do you have anybody in mind?
Honestly, I don't really have anyone specific in mind. So yeah, if Al Pacino wanted the role and Marvel was willing to give it to him, awesome,
right? Like, I would never turn around. Al Pacino, you want to do something? Hey, you got the job. Yeah, I don't care who you want to play. You want to play Mary Jane? You got the job, Al Pacino.
Although I would hope it's not just a cameo. With that being said, if they bring in Mephisto, you know, it's got to, or Nightmare too, because I think Nightmare is supposed to be like the main villain of Doctor Strange, if I remember correctly. It's got to be a full on role, of course.
Oh yeah. No, I just meant like maybe like a one off, like Gwyneth Paltrow. Well, wait, who was it that did Kate Blanchett, right? Was the one that did from Thor Ragnarok, the villain from that Hela?
Oh yeah. Are you talking about the actress or the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
character?
The actress.
I forgot the actress's name, but yeah, the Hella was the character.
But yeah, and she was a huge popular star. One episode or one movie, I should say. So yeah, bring Al Pacino in, man. Why not? I would absolutely love it. If you haven't watched Devil's Advocate, please do yourselves a favor and check it out. It's a great movie. But yeah, other than that, guys, listen, we definitely want to know your thoughts. What did you guys think about episode number 7? Agatha Harkness has in fact been revealed. We get to see her secret creepy lair underneath her house. I am kind of curious as to what has happened to the kids. I am wondering if this is where Wanda truly, honestly, maybe goes berserk. Maybe Mephisto's messing around with them. I mean, in the comics, I believe it is Mephisto or somebody takes her kids away from her. So I am wondering if we're getting to that place. Do you still think that we end on this note of Wanda just losing her shit at the end of the season?
I think it's a huge possibility, especially because we know that she's going to be in Doctor Strange, but we don't know whether or not she's going to be an antagonist or protagonist. I feel like there's going to be, in a way to really make a character feel like there's no more hope. I feel like they're going to try to push her to the point where she feels like there's no return, even though, it's Hollywood. And we always know that characters, no matter what they do, always have that point of redemption. So I do feel like it's a huge possibility that she'll lose everything in this, but then she'll have her redemption moment in Doctor Strange.
We'll see, man. I hope you're right. I would love to see Wanda have some sort of redemption story at some point in time. Like, I wonder, after Avengers Disassembled storyline years ago, when Wanda did go ahead and erase all mutants and really just kind of go batshit crazy. Ever since then, I wonder if Wanda in the comics has ever truly fully redeemed herself after that moment. I felt like people have kind of looked at her as sort of as a antagonist a little bit, maybe, or at least a little bit more on the unsure side as to what they're getting with Scarlet Witch after that event. So I am wondering how Elizabeth Olsen will play this role, or if Kevin Feige will really have a long storyline for Scarlet Witch, certainly going forward, even after something like Doctor Strange 2. So I do hope that we eventually get a redemption. I would be interested to see if it comes that quick, though. But it might, because Kevin Feige might have other things that he certainly wants to do.
Yeah, and my thought of why I think redemption for her is still possible is because,
it's definitely possible,
as bad as and the like, looking at what she's doing now, it's definitely not good, but it's nothing that can't be fixed, and that's kind of like the main thing, is that everything she's currently doing now can still be fixed. She just has to want to be able to fix it, and I think Monica knows that, and that's why she refuses to, agree with Howard when Howard calls her a terrorist and everything. Like, she still knows that there's a huge point in going back. So I am really, I'm definitely rooting for Monica, but if knowing Marvel and how they love to play the long game, it definitely it is very possible that we won't get that redemption at the end of the series, for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there, man. They also say I really enjoy Monica Photon as a character. One of my favorite characters for sure. She grew a lot in episode number 7, plus her new powers. Yeah, I mean, I think Teyana Parris, who plays Monica Rambeau, is doing a fantastic job, man. I've really been impressed since we first saw her, especially ever since the snapback episode, when we see her kind of coming back and you really start getting a feel for who she is as a character, her past, some of the turmoil that she's kind of had to deal with. And what's fascinating to me is that there's plenty of story left for her to still be told, right? We still don't know that relationship or where that tension comes from between her along with Carol. So not only is she going to be in this show, I believe she's also going to be in the Miss Marvel show, maybe. And I definitely know she's going to be in Captain Marvel 2 also. So I think she's been doing a brilliant job as Monica, a great addition to the MCU, and somebody like you, Beast, that I am also really looking forward to seeing how she grows as the season progresses. How have you liked Teyana Parris so far as Monica?
She's been killing it in the role. I've been absolutely loving it the entire time. Pretty much all the characters have been doing really great so far, because especially like with her and Jimmy Woo, especially because those were and definitely Darcy to an extent. With Darcy, I feel like she's definitely a lot more or less the same character that we've seen in the Thor movies. But also, I see my screen is lagging. Am I lagging?
A little bit, yeah, on my side, but it's okay.
Okay,
You're
okay.
good now.
There we go. It looks normal now. I just noticed for a while like my screen was a little fidgety. Okay, cool. But yeah, so anyways, like with Darcy, she kind of feels more or less the same in Thor, but I like her more in this show because she feels more in place. But with Jimmy Woo and Monica specifically, it really feels like those two are the ones that have been really growing a lot since we first see them, and they've like hadn't really been fully established as characters. Like with Jimmy, he was really just more of a comedic relief in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So here it's really cool seeing him take on a much more serious role. And then with Monica, it's so cool because we only really saw her as a kid. We saw like the influence she had as a kid. So it was really what intrigued me about her character was trying to see like how that would all pay off for her when she became an adult. So now getting to see the payoff from that first Captain Marvel movie, and then also seeing that just because she's an adult, that doesn't mean she's done growing. We still see her character growing throughout the show. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and now she's got her abilities sort of activated, right? So now she's got a whole other future that certainly awaits her that hasn't been told as of yet. So really great placement for Monica Rambeau. I was kind of wondering how she was going to fit into this series when it was initially announced, but I love the fact of having her a part of Sword, an organization that her mother helped build from the ground up, and really seeing Monica's role in this world, especially after that sort of 5-year jump from Infinity War to Endgame. So that's pretty cool to see how that kind of all came to fruition. Billy does ask us a question. Where's Dottie in WandaVision? Yeah, we haven't seen Dottie in a while, ever since the blackout, I think, happened in like episode 3 or 4 or something like that. So yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, I'm assuming some of these characters just are nowhere to be found anymore. They're not being used, so Wanda's probably not using them at this point. But other than that, guys, I think that's probably going to do it for us here today. Real quick, just last one. BAs does say when Monica entered the Hex, it was an incredible, indescribable event. It was very cool. Your thoughts, Stuart?
Absolutely loved it. Especially like when she like left it. I kind of like the POV shots that we got through her, so we kind of like see how she's perceiving the world. I absolutely love that. So I can't wait to see like what it's going to look like later on. Maybe not at the end of this series, but probably in Captain Marvel 2, when she has more like control of her abilities and when she actually knows how to like utilize them better. I'm definitely excited to see that.
I'm waiting for a suit, man. I cannot wait to see her get her suit. But yeah, that shot, once she actually comes out and you see her kind of viewing things through I guess different spectrums, different seeing all the different types of energies and stuff. I thought that was really cool how they perceived her abilities for us to kind of understand them a little bit too. So Marvel continues to impress, guys. They continue to impress. But listen, at the end of the day, these are just simply our A+ opinions. We always certainly want to go ahead and know yours. So let your thoughts be known either in the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video winds up airing. But other than that, that's going to go ahead and do it for us here today at A+ Hero Report. But of course, we certainly will be back next Friday, 7 p.m. Central Time, to go ahead and break down episode number 8. But in the meantime, Stuart, if people want to go ahead and reach out to you on social media, where can they find you, sir?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Twitter.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Really appreciate having you here, Stuart, as always. And of course, guys, listen, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at A+ Opinions. You can find us right up here, very active over on our Facebook page along with Twitter. And you can also check us out over on our Instagram page along with Twitch for you gamers as well. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I think that'll certainly do it for us here. So thank you for your time. Do us a big favor, though. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And as always, keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.